Billy sings More Fun to Miss with Daisy. That performance of More Fun to Miss, where he's literally all over Daisy, same mic, almost kissing her. She's taken aback. She's like, what are you doing? And she smelled the alcohol on him. It's impossible not to. You're that close. He was on her, around her, in her space, and she's trying to sing because she's the one who's trying to hold it together for him, for Camilla. You know how much that takes? Hey everyone, welcome back to Canon Cinema. I'm Amanda, otherwise known as AMX ND Reviews on Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd. Today I will be reviewing episodes 9 and 10 of Daisy Jones and the Six. These last two episodes absolutely destroyed me emotionally, and after reading the book I was wondering how they were going to do the little twist at the end, and I think they did it beautifully. But before I get ahead of myself, the reason why these last two episodes broke me is that everyone's feelings kind of come to a head, and obviously it results in Daisy Jones and the Six, the band, to break up. And it was a roller coaster. They were on a high. They were playing all of these shows. Things happen. Life changes when situations happen. Your perspective changes when certain situations happen. And with Daisy Jones and the Six in episode 8, we see that Daisy's husband, Nicky, just wasn't there for her. And we see at the very beginning of episode 9 that she wakes up. She sees that she has a bandage with some cotton on her arm. Either she was admitted to the hospital or someone came to to see her and save her. And she remembers bits and pieces, but the main thing that stays in her head that she remembers is that Nicky wasn't there and that Billy was the one to save her. And that breaks her heart. It breaks her because obviously the person that she chose to marry isn't the person that she thought she was going to marry. And it's heartbreaking to see that in times of need, in a desperate situation, Nicky wasn't the one taking the drugs away from her and helping her. He was the one to stuff her with drugs, say that you can take a little bit more and all of that. Instead, she's so taken by the fact that Billy's the one that found her and saw her, and they do have like a little private moment. They kind of reworked the book a bit. I do think for the dramatization of these actual events, I think they did it extremely well. I was just blown away and so engaged by what I was seeing. So Daisy kicks Nicky out, and I kind of liked that everyone banded with her. Like Nicky was about to kind of attack her, and Eddie, Warren, and Graham were there like, piss off, don't get near her, don't touch her. And instead of Daisy kind of hugging any of the guys, Karen goes to her, because it's more of a female thing. Women will understand that a bit more. And, Daisy just automatically cries with Karen. On the flip side, Karen's going through her own stuff with Graham. In the previous episode, everything's hunky-dory with them. They're so cute. And I love, love, love their relationship. But Karen gets pregnant. Graham kind of figures it out and they have a conversation. Karen doesn't want to throw her entire career away. And Graham says something that triggers her, and he says, okay, we'll get another keyboardist. And she's like, well, why am I going to quit my job? Are you going to quit your job to raise the baby? And then that blew up in their faces. And it's all about making difficult decisions for yourself for the long run. And we see that more and more as these two episodes play out. And it's important to focus on what you want and what you need, and that realistically, the people that you are with should understand and value your decision. So it's really hard for Karen, and it's really hard for us as viewers to kind of see Karen and Graham go through that split. You see that the band is slowly crumbling and falling apart. And then we flip to Billy. Billy gets really close with Daisy. Really close, much closer than they were before, because they're on tour and Camilla's nowhere to be found. Not that he still doesn't have contact with Camilla, it's the fact that they're really close to each other. They're singing into the same mic every night. She's leaning on him every night. Like it's very intimate. And when you're sharing that form of energy and you're bearing your soul on stage with these lyrics that the two of them wrote technically to each other in code, it gets a lot. So Billy starts drinking again. Different from the book, but he starts drinking again. Daisy takes notice. Daisy is absolutely losing her mind because after Nikki leaves, Daisy goes on a tear again of drugs because she can't stay that close to Billy. She really can't. And she loses herself a bit. But then after she has a conversation with Billy, she sees that that's not the way to go and that you just have to feel it. The Saturday Night Live performance was beautiful because she wasn't high. She wasn't high. And then there's this moment where she locks eyes with Billy and she's like, that's what I want. I want to feel that safety, that comfort and all of that. But she doesn't like take the same amount of drugs anymore. She spaces it out. It's on like a scheduled time, which helps her a lot. And there's some form of clarity that comes with that because Billy's on the downward spiral and Daisy's trying to do her best for Billy. And that's where the similarity is. They're doing their best, not for their own person, like for themselves, their own body. That's not what they're doing their best for. They're doing their best for another person. Billy's doing his best for Camilla. And then Daisy's doing her best for Billy, but who's doing their best for Daisy? And that's where she kind of learns it's a very hard moment for Daisy to kind of learn that. And that's just how the band kind of leaves off before heading to Chicago. I think Chicago in the next episode was a lot. I think the direction for episode 10 was brilliant. The editing, brilliant. It was just all fantastic considering that they were all in different places with their own relationships and their own situations. And then once Teddy Price does have the heart attack, it brings them all together. Even Simone, who was pissed off at Daisy, comes back into the mix as well. I do think having Simone a bit MIA for this was a bit odd. I kind of like that we were going back and forth with everybody. And Simone's storyline got buried, even though hers is really important too in regards to queer representation back in the 70s. So it was just a bit odd to cast that aside. We don't really see her make important decisions for, her and Bernie. So I think that you should have done a bit more with that. Or else I love her storyline. I love her. And she does come for Teddy Price. She doesn't come back for Daisy until Daisy, apologizes. And, Simone can see that she's clean. Like she's not fully sober, but she looks better than she did before. So they kind of rekindle that friendship. Going into Chicago, this is where the mess happens. And this hour of television was intense. It was phenomenal because of the way it was structured. It stays true to the book, which is even more important with going back and forth with who feels what and how the situation unfolds in Chicago. So they didn't know that Chicago was going to be their last show. But what they do while they're performing, the editing here is just genius because while they are performing, they cut back to earlier in the day. And the events that transpired earlier in the day. You notice that Eddie has a black eye. You know that Karen's like looking at Graham from across the room and she's like absolutely miserable because of what she did to him. Graham's not even looking at Karen. Okay. Billy's drunk and being really touchy, very intimate with Daisy. And Warren's just chilling at the back. I think Warren's one of my favorite characters just because he's chilling at the back, doesn't know what the hell's going on. So we have a mixture of why this band is breaking apart while they're performing their last show. And it was a damn good show. It was a damn good show. So we see that Rod gives them all the keys and Rod said that sound check is at 4 p.m. So you see like 12:30, 2:30, 3 o'clock. There's timestamps while they're editing this back and forth and they're cutting it at the right time. We see that Daisy completely goes off because they went to Pittsburgh. And after going to Pittsburgh, they saw that, Camilla and Billy are just so close. Camilla's so loving. But Camilla also has a moment with Eddie that Billy kind of catches. And then he starts thinking. The gears are turning. So in Pittsburgh, Billy and Daisy have a very private moment, which affects Camilla. And then that entire scene on the plane going to Chicago is something that plays on Camilla's mind the entire time. Everyone in that last scene on that plane on episode 9, the cutting there, the looks at these characters, at each other, and the character dynamics are just like, the tension's ridiculous. And then it goes to Chicago. So everything that happened in Pittsburgh is bleeding into Chicago. And Camilla's very, very loving towards Daisy. She doesn't feel any animosity towards Daisy or anger towards Daisy. It's more geared towards Billy, which is so important, because we always see that women are hating on women when the man is the one who's orchestrating all of this madness. And it's just so important to see that Billy has his own trauma. I'm not saying that he hasn't gone through stuff, but it's always women against women constantly. But here we have Camilla at the end of episode 9 telling Daisy that she could be a mother. And Daisy's sitting there like, I can't because of X, Y, and Z with my mother. And it was just horrible. I would be a horrible parent. And then Camilla's like, don't count yourself out. You've gone through that. That doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to do the exact same thing to your daughter. You're going to break that cycle. That stayed in her mind. And Camilla has been such an important character in the book and in the series, because she does hold everyone together. She is the glue to hold everyone together. And everyone wants to be the best for Camilla. She is the one that believed in them from the very beginning, from Pittsburgh. And then it flips over to Camilla being pissed off at Billy, crying over Billy, and saying in the hallway, which Daisy walks in and walks into it, this conversation, saying that I saw you two. That's more than just a musical relationship. That's more than like a bandmate. It's impossible. So she starts crying and she asks him, do you love her? So Billy comes out and says, listen, I kissed her once, but it didn't mean anything. Blah, 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 blah. It's an act on stage, all that. You can't act like that and not feel anything. And Camilla knows the truth. Camilla knows the truth, but she genuinely thinks that they fooled around. And we still don't know that technically, because there's not a lot that Daisy and Billy can say to the person who is doing this documentary, which we later find out is uncovered when Billy gets choked up talking about Daisy and talking about Camilla, that it is in fact his daughter Julia documenting all of this, and she wanted to document all of this. So it's really hard to interview everyone, because the daughter of Billy Dunn and Camilla Dunn is literally the one behind the camera asking these questions. And I cried when I found out that it was her in the book. I thought it was the most beautiful thing in the world, and it was just so opened, and it came from such a loving place. She's the only one that really could have done this documentary with such easiness, such comfort, such authenticity. And I love that that was the choice being made here. So that twist was really important. And we catch that in episode 10 about like early on. So not only does that madness happen, Daisy goes off the deep end because she literally can't take it. Her heart is breaking that she can't be with the man that she loves. Because Billy again says, isn't it enough that I'm here writing songs with you, that we can have this connection, that we can write 10 more albums together, that isn't this enough? And then I go back to Camilla, like, I'm always going to choose her. It's always going to be her. That's devastating to hear. That means that you are a placeholder for another version of Billy. That is what he's saying. Daisy's going to get all the bad, all the emotions, but not like physically being there for Daisy. And that's a lot to process. This man loves me, but he doesn't want to commit to me other than through songs, through like emotional intimacy. And it got to me, like, as someone who has felt those similar emotions and has gone through certain situations like that, it's just hit me like a ton of bricks. And I felt for Daisy. I connected more with Daisy, even though I would react more like Billy. And it's devastating to want someone that is just keeping you there until they don't no longer have the person that they're with, because they know that you're not good for them. It's really hard. It's so hard. So Daisy starts drinking early on. She misses sound check. She has a conversation with Camilla, and she straight up tells her, like, nothing ever happened between the two of us. And without telling Camilla, she's like, he's always going to choose you. Like, it doesn't matter. Whatever I feel, I don't exist. My emotions don't exist. And Camilla is so hurt by that she knows that it's not Daisy, but she takes it out on Daisy a little bit and knows that it's Billy. All that happens between Daisy, Billy, and Camilla. Then Eddie comes in, goes into Billy's room. Billy's losing his mind. He's calling Cammy, not answering. Doesn't even care about Daisy. Completely loses his mind, starts drinking more. Okay, this is before they even do sound check. They miss sound check because of this. So Eddie goes in, says, listen, I'm going to leave the band. What you did in Pittsburgh in front of my grandmother, that you took my guitar, it was supposed to be my moment in Pittsburgh and you stole it from me. You don't care, blah, 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 blah. And then he really just takes a low blow, literally a low blow, in kind of telling Billy that Camilla and him hooked up, because Camilla already said it to Billy. She's like, there's a lot of stuff that you don't know. And then Billy's like, what do you mean? So in a way, Camilla technically cheated on Billy, but kept it a secret of her own, because she thought that obviously Billy already cheated on Camilla. But what's worse is this is the age-old kind of conversation. What is considered cheating? Because if you're already emotionally cheating on someone by being in love with them and connecting with them on another level that you're not connecting with your significant other already, that's cheating. Is already talking to them and flirting with them and feeling, really close to them and comfortable with them considered cheating. Everyone has their own way of looking at it. So Camilla physically cheated, but then so did Billy, not to the same extent, but obviously Camilla at the time didn't know that Billy and Daisy weren't doing anything technically. So is Billy a conflicted person? 100%. But he tried to stay true to his wife. It almost killed him because he went back to drinking. But he stayed true to Cammy without her even knowing. But again, we don't fully know the true story because they're being interviewed. So they're not saying everything. We as the audience, because the editing is fantastic. Literally just fantastic, okay? The editing is perfect in this. We are trying to connect it. We connected that Cammy and Eddie had a thing, right? So when Eddie tells him that, Billy punches him. Eddie throws him to the other side. Anger. So Eddie has a black eye. No one knows why, except for Billy. There goes that. It's getting closer to the concert. Karen tells Graham in the elevator, starts bawling her eyes out. She's like, I took care of it. I took care of the baby. Without Graham actually making a decision, Camilla took Karen to the health clinic to get an abortion. These are big things that they are doing here, but they're showing us, they're not telling us. They're showing the aftermath of the decision, which is even more important than showing during, which I respect even more. Graham loses it. He loves her so much. This just proves that Karen does not want to be with him, but it has nothing to do with him. It's all about her career. It's about her. That's my decision. That's my decision if I want to do that and pursue my dream. So they perform. They're performing. And Billy hasn't heard from Cammy. And Camilla's not going to the concert until halfway through. So before Camilla gets to the concert, Billy sings More Fun to Miss with Daisy. That performance of More Fun to Miss, where he's literally all over Daisy, same mic, almost kissing her. She's taken aback. She's like, what are you doing? And she smelled the alcohol on him. It's impossible not to. You're that close. He was on her, around her, in her space, and she's trying to sing because she's the one who's trying to hold it together for him, for Camilla. You know how much that takes? The man that you love is literally on you singing. You've waited for that. You've waited for that connection. And you being that strong, badass woman that you are, to just protect Camilla and protect yourself because you don't want to let it get too far. You are protecting yourself. Your guard is up because you realistically know that it took him all this time to show you his true colors while he was drinking, how he felt about you while he was drinking, not caring because he feels like he's broken. And it took him alcohol to show Daisy. That's devastating in itself. Daisy had to be stronger than Billy at that point, and she was. Because then, as Camilla came into the middle of the crowd, she really tried her best to not sing with him like that. But Camilla obviously can't take it. There's a beautiful montage about the relationship between Camilla and Billy while she's listening to them, while she's watching them perform songs. And she leaves. So right after that, Billy and Daisy go off stage to take a break. And he starts like kissing her. Picks her up. Daisy's like, what? Like, what's going on? She catches him. Like, he was drunk. She says it to him. And Billy tells her, like, Camilla's going to leave me because I'm in love with you, blah, blah, blah. And this is what Billy says. I'm broken. You're broken. We can be broken together. Daisy snaps. She wants to be whole. She wants to be a complete person. She doesn't want to be broken. She's been broken for long enough. Why would I stay broken with someone who's going to just keep me at this level? That's not what she wants. Again, the strength with this woman saying this to the man that she loves. Okay? She's like, I don't want to be broken. And then she goes out. She sings Honeycomb and she says to him, like, this is a love song. This is a love song. And then she sings it to him to remind him why he wrote the song in the first place, who he wrote it for. She sings the first couple of bars, okay? And she tells him to leave. And he runs off to Cammy. That is very hard to do. So all the female characters, Karen, Daisy, and Camilla, have had some of the best storylines, the best character development, the best arcs in television history, to be perfectly honest. All three of them really shined in this. Camilla Morone, Suki Waterhouse, and frickin' Riley Keough. Unreal performances, all three of them. The writing for these episodes have incredible depth. I was just blown away by this series. It gets worse in episode 10 as the band obviously breaks apart. You see them one by one trying to get on the bus, but they don't. Karen and Warren are on there. Eddie leaves the day after. Graham leaves the day after. Billy's with Camilla, but he tells Camilla, I'm going to get better. I'm going to get clean. I will earn my life back with you. And he does that because Daisy told him to. If it wasn't for Daisy, Billy would be going all the way down. Daisy leaves, breaks down with Simone, saying she can't do it anymore. And, Simone says it straight up. She's like, you have to leave. You have to leave. So Daisy leaves. Daisy has her best life. Sober, has a kid, goes on to make more music. She has a fantastic life. Billy had to work for it a bit more, but he was there for his kids. He was there for Camilla. Graham moved back. He's like, I can't play anymore. I'm not going to do music. Right? Has a family, kids. Karen went on to do a solo career. Amazing. Warren married Lisa, the actress on SNL that introduced them, which was amazing. And then Eddie still plays. They all moved on, but they don't forget. The thing that broke my heart, and I hope I don't cry while I talk about this because it's just a phenomenal, beautiful, emotional performances from Riley and Sam. We find out that Camilla passed on. He wished that he didn't waste all that time with Camilla, causing her all that heartbreak and all of that. And that he would, he'd trade everything, the platinum record, everything for his wife to come back. And he's talking to his daughter on camera, off camera. And on top of that, she goes to Daisy and talks about the same thing. And Daisy thinks, I'm pretty sure Camilla just, she doesn't have nice things to say about me. And then Julia was like, actually, I have a video of my mom talking about you, Daisy, and talking about my dad. So she shows him the video right before she passed. And Camilla said that she was always rooting for Daisy. No bad blood between them. She wanted her to do extremely well because she was talented. But the fact that she said that she was rooting for her just made me cry because Riley was crying. Such a freaking good moment. It was great. And then she went on to say, to Billy that Billy should give Daisy Jones a call because she knew she was passing and that the two of them still owe her a song. So to do that. It shows Camilla as a person. It shows that she loves love, and you can love people in different ways. You can find your soulmate at the wrong time. You know, right person, wrong time. That's again what Daisy Jones and the Six shows you. You could see that your world is turning completely upside down at the time with the person that you're with. But in the long run, like Karen and Graham, it worked out for the best because they weren't good for each other. There are different relationships that are being explored in this series that is almost vital for people to watch and understand. At the end of this, Billy musters up the courage and knocks on the door of Daisy Jones at the end of this, and then it's left open-ended. You don't know what happened between them. You don't know anything. But it's the simple fact that if you are meant to be with someone and you leave them for a period of time, they could circle back when you least expect it. You can love someone and they won't be right for you at the time, but that love doesn't just disappear. So I'm going to give episodes 9 and 10 a 10 out of 10. I thought the direction was fantastic. The writing for these last 2 episodes, brilliant stuff. The performances from all of them, this entire cast, one of my favorite casts in a very long time. I love them all. I think Riley Keough and Sam Claflin had phenomenal chemistry. Camilla Morone is the standout considering this is one of her first roles. Suki Waterhouse was a powerhouse as well in this. They were fantastic. The women on this show, I will praise them to the end of time. Absolutely brilliant work. And if you haven't read Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid, I highly suggest that you do it because the book is just as fantastic as the show. The book is obviously slightly better. You get a bit more detail as well, but it's just so well done. I want them to go on tour. The Aurora album and Daisy Jones and the Six need to go on tour. I've been blasting it all the time. This show really got to me. Billy and Daisy really got to me. And there needs to be more shows and movies that really explore relationships, but not surface level. Like, let's get into the nitty gritty of how people operate with one another. I think it's vital, especially with how dating and relationships are going in this current climate. It's absolutely disastrous. There's no romance anymore. There's no love. And people are afraid to show their emotions. They're afraid to emotionally connect with someone now because they see it as a weakness, but it's not a weakness. It's really not a weakness. So if you guys enjoyed my review of Daisy Jones and the Six, episode 9 and 10, please let me know in the comments below. Let me know if you enjoyed the series as a whole, because I loved it. I can talk about this all day, every day. It's so, so good. And I plan on reading some more books from Taylor Jenkins Reid. You can check out my Goodreads down below as well. And if you guys want to help this channel grow, there are ways to support the channel down below as well. So you guys can always follow me over at AMX ND Reviews on Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd. I'll catch you guys next time. Keep watching movies.